Hey guys, did you know that Nikki Haley had an affair? And it's like the biggest news of her campaign, and it just completely means that she could never ever be president or GOP, and think about all the Christian values and this. Spare me your bullshit. This is a video that I've been wanting to make for a long time. Long before I knew that Nikki Haley had had an affair. And to be completely honest, I put a post out on X about this the other night, and I said flat out, I don't care that Nikki Haley had an affair. I think I actually worded it, you care that Nikki Haley had an affair. I care that Nikki Haley has a world map with bullseyes on it. We are not the same. And that in and of itself should be the reason that so many people are looking over and looking down at Nikki Haley. They're trying to make the moral argument at this point off of this. And the reason for this video, the reason that I wanted to talk about this is, I mean, this goes back into the beginning of the Trump years, but it's the moral leadership aspect that I think that we need to stop trying to do here. Now, it's been a constant thing since Trump came down the escalator. And, well, I don't think it was since he started coming down the escalator, or since he came down the escalator. I think it was when he started winning, where the first things that were coming up were, well, he's a Democrat. He's a lifelong Democrat. He cheated on his wife, don't you know? He cheated on his wife with the person that he divorced his wife for and married. And while all of his kids were, while his wives were all pregnant with his kids, he went and cheated on them with his next wife. And the big one, of course, being that he cheated on, was it Ivana, with Melania while Ivana was pregnant with Ivanka. I believe how the lore goes. I really don't care about the lifestyles of the rich and the famous. In fact, I'll be completely honest, before election year came out, the only thing that I knew about Trump was the fact that he was the apprentice guy, and before that, I actually remember when we were in grade school, riding the bus still. And I think about this too, because I remember the commercials would always come on about the same time, and I drive by this area all the time when I go to my parents' house now. The commercial for Who Wants to Marry a Multimillionaire, which, by the way, was where Ivana came from, I believe. Who wants to marry a multimillionaire? Regardless of the historicity behind the Donald here, the whole thing came, and the reason I'm making this video again is because they wanted to tie Trump to moral leadership. Now, back in the day, I was Team Trump. I voted for him the first time excitedly. I did vote for him second time, but that was through gritted teeth, kicking and screaming. I did not want to. I was turned off of the Trump train based on the spending and the fact that he could get down and he could be forced to spend money by being told that his poll numbers are going to go down, especially in an election year. That's why I don't want to vote for him time number 3. And probably one of the only things that would change my mind, ironically enough that I'm making this video, is the Saint Dr. Carson being his VP pick. But I like Dr. Carson for a lot of reasons other than his saintlyhood. But going back to Nikki Haley and Donald Trump, both of them, one of the hardest parts for the GOP, and this is, by the way, part of the reason that they lose elections, is because they look to these politicians to be their moral leaders. They look to hold these people up to a moral standard that, I mean, as a standard-bearer politician, most of these people can't stand up to. I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but the average politician kind of sucks. And even though the DeSantis people are coming out and saying, Ron DeSantis never cheated on his wife, they have no scandals against him. Trust me, they have something. They have and will find something if he ever does wind up getting close to the office. They already have it found and planned. They're not going to put their cards on the table right now, but they already have it found and planned. The average person in the world commits 3 felonies a day. They have been looking through every interaction that Ron DeSantis has had since he was 8 years old and coming to look at that because they want to come back out and tell you the same thing. Is this the moral leader that you want? This person, he kicked a puppy when he was 10. You GOP are all about morals. Do you want to vote for this person? I've seen it time and time again. Hell, they did it with Bush. I don't know how Bush sucked. W was one of the most evil human beings on the face of the planet. And yet they could still come out and say, well, he's the moral leader. You guys need to have a moral leader. Why are you talking about Trump right now? Because look how moral Bush was. And this only really goes one way. Part of the reason that I wanted to talk about this, number one, a part of the reason that Trump won, and number two, a part of the reason why they're pushing this is they don't hold their politicians to the same standard by any stretch of the imagination. And I've got a couple of examples of that. Some of them are actually fairly contemporary. Like these people, the people who are coming out and telling you that you shouldn't go and vote for Trump because he cheated on this wife or that wife, or Nikki Haley, don't you hate her because she cheated on this person and it was while her husband was deployed and you must hate the military and everything else, are looking at a person like Ilhan Omar, who came into the country, brought a person into the country under questionable circumstances with a lot of people believing that was her brother that she married. I'm not going to confirm or deny that, by the way, off of this, but I know a lot of people have brought some very, very compelling evidence forward to say that, yes, that's probably what happened. And then she turns around and divorces brother-husband, if it is indeed brother-husband, and goes and marries one of her campaign contractors after paying his firm millions and millions and millions of dollars. That is money laundering. On top of the fact that she went out and divorced, potentially cheated on a husband, whether brother or not, and then now wound up hitched to this same guy. Fani Willis, there's a fantastic example of that. And I love, by the way, the Fani Willis thing too, because currently Fani Willis is under investigation for misappropriation of funds because of the lavish trips that her and her paramour, who she is not married to, in fact, her being married to somebody else, her and her illicit paramour were going on with fancy dinners, fancy vacations, going out of the taxpayer dollar. And yet I've already found a blue waiver over on X coming out to tell you they just want to take her down because she's a black woman and she had an affair. Who she dates is her own business. Well, who she dates is her own business. I agree with you off of that. It's the fact of the money, but that goes back to the Clinton era. You remember that shit during the Clinton impeachment? Now, Clinton, for most of you know, was impeached for perjury, lying under oath over a series of mishandled items. I grew up during the Clinton impeachment. In fact, I was hearing a lot of these terms for the very first time during the Clinton impeachment. Do you know what I always heard on the radio, from the talking heads, on the TV and everything else, and also on the budding internet with the jokes that were going around there? Republicans want to impeach Bill Clinton because they're stuffed shirt conservatives. And he had fun. And he had a blowjob, and they're against blowjobs. You see where this moralism argument is coming from. And Cori Bush even, thanks to Buffy over on X, who pointed this out when I was actually thinking about making this video, even she was another one that got into it. She paid a person well above market value for security services and then wound up marrying that dude. Now making the payments from this person's individual business a marital asset. I'm telling you right off the bat, if I ever were to run for office as a Democrat and I wanted to go back and appropriate a bunch of funds and make myself rich, I would make sure I would bang somebody who is outside of the norm of a person that I would be banging, on top of everything else. I'm not married, so I can't say somebody other than my wife, but I would make sure to go and bang somebody outside of the realm of who I should be banging while in the process of appropriating the money, because, hey, your base will just completely look the other way about it as long as you're fucking somebody you're not supposed to be fucking. Again, that goes all the way back to the Clinton era. I forget who it was. There was a feminist author. I do not remember who it was that said that. It was a big clip that came around during Hillary's campaign, but where this woman had said that in the midst of the scandal, again, bringing up the idea, the stuffed shirt Republicans just want to impeach him because he had fun and he had a blowjob. And this woman says, oh, fuck yeah, I would blow Bill Clinton. He votes the right way on abortion. I forget. I wish I knew who that was that said that. I did try to Google it before we got started because I remembered it. I wanted to bring it up today, but I could not figure out who it was. Now, as far as the moral leadership argument, I actually thought that this was going to go out the window when Trump was nominated the first time. I thought we were actually going to be able to judge our candidates on merit, on financial security, on what happened during their presidencies for our 401ks, our wealth, our job prospects, and everything else. Because it had seemed at the time that the GOP had turned around and said, okay, well, you want to call us, you want to bring the moralism argument? Well, we're going to bring the least moral candidate out there. We're going to put him up there, and we're going to give you guys the finger. Now you can't say anything. And yet, they still do. That's probably one of the centers of the DeSantis campaign. I want to make another video. I'm probably not going to post it on the same day as I post this, but I'm going to make another video talking about the failure of the DeSantis campaign. I don't know if I want to do it just yet because I don't know what he's going to do in New Hampshire and whether or not he's going to drop out beforehand. But writing at the time of making this video, 1:09 p.m. on Sunday, January 21st, some of the writing is looking on the wall like he is going to suspend his campaign, but, you know, we've been wrong about these things before. But where I was going with that, too, is it's one of the things the DeSantis people bring up, and whether they're the genuine DeSantis people or, as I have been suspecting for a long time, some of the leftoids who have been trying to push for a messy primary, it's one of the things that keeps coming up over and over again is, well, I can't have this immoral candidate. I can't vote for this immoral candidate who would cheat on his wife, who would bone a porn star, who would rape a woman in a Bergdorf dressing room. Not proven, by the way. No matter what it is the judge says, the only two people in the universe who will know what happened in that dressing room are Donald Trump and Elizabeth Jean Carroll. But they go back to it, and again, trying to make the candidates into their moral leaders. And this is why the GOP loses, because they're continually coming off the back foot. They're trying to hold their candidates to one standard, while their opponents are elevating their candidates for doing the same thing that they're denying candidates for. Do I want to see some adulterer or philanderer in office? Not overly. Is that the most important thing? No. I don't need my presidential candidate, my gubernatorial candidate, my senator, my representative to be my pastor. I have a pastor for that. So, that's something to think about as we go into this and as they choose the candidates off there. Obviously, we're not going to grab a bank robber off the street. Well, maybe. I've seen some of the people that they're coming back to try to push up in the taxation department, but for argument's sake, we're not going to go back and take a bank robber off the street. Or, I don't know, Charlie Sheen is not going to be the Republican nominee. Holy shit, I just gave myself a chill at my spine thinking about that. But I don't believe, rather, Charlie Sheen is ever going to be a nominee for any office or anything. But, again, to keep in mind, you're trying to hold a candidate to a certain standard, and you're letting your opponents hold you to a certain standard that they don't hold their own people to. Food for thought. Take care, everybody. Have a fantastic day.